Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to discuss getting deals at extreme discounts, buying well below wholesale, using the 5Ds. Now, the 5Ds are the 5 main reasons why people sell, and of course, we'll discuss how to find those people. It's actually a lot easier than you think. And if you're in the real estate business, the key to making money is buying it right and under the right terms. And it's going to be very important to deal with something that needs to sell versus wants to sell. Someone that needs to sell, they need to get out from underneath whatever their issue is, their problem. And of course, we're always looking for problem situations, not necessarily distressed properties. We want distressed sellers, not distressed properties. Extremely important to understand the differentiator on that. Distressed properties, it's dilapidated, it might be, condemned, it might be falling apart. It's actually going to cost more to fix it than it's probably worth, and we don't want to get involved in that at all. In fact, rehabs are the thing that I dislike the most in this business. It takes a lot of time, and if you're doing it yourself, it's a total waste of time. And if you're dealing with contractors, it's like dealing with teenagers. They want more money all the time, and they're never on time. So it's very stressful dealing with contractors, at least in my experience. So I prefer to stay away from properties that need a lot of work. I like dealing with properties that are in extremely good condition and very decent shape, but the seller has a situation where they just need to sell quickly. Very like a pawn shop. If you Google pawn shops in your area, you're going to see that there are plenty of them. And why are pawn shops in business? Because people have assets and they want to sell things quickly in order to get quick cash. So there's always a situation where someone needs to sell something at a discounted rate, and understand that just because you wouldn't do it doesn't mean that somebody else wouldn't. Just because you haven't been in these situations doesn't negate that it actually does happen. Just because you've never committed a crime doesn't mean crimes don't happen. Most folks are in one of two cycles. They need cash or they need cash flow. Someone that invests, that has money to place somewhere to take care of their future and their retirement, they have money to place and they're looking for cash flow. So the money they have, they want to have interest or a return on. They're looking for cash flow for either immediate needs or future needs. And someone that needs money now because of immediate bills or the situation that they're in or whatever the 5Ds might be for them, or any other D that they might be having, they need cash immediately. So if I have a property that makes $150,000 a year net after all expenses, and I can get $1.5 million for it if I wait 6 months, because that's just the average time it takes for something to sell on the market, but I can't wait 6 months, and someone comes around dangling $1 million right now, do I want the $150,000 later? Over the course of a whole year, or do I want this $1 million immediately, or am I patient enough to wait the 6 months? Again, if you look at any pawn shop model, people will discount their assets severely in order to get something right now. So there's value in that and folding time. So if someone is motivated, they're not in a cash flow situation that they need. They're not looking for cash flow. They're looking for cash now. If someone is not motivated, they don't need cash now. They're okay with cash flow. So it's important to understand either one or the other when you're having these conversations with sellers. What phase are they in? Cash now or cash flow? If someone has money, do they want cash? Do they want to keep their cash in the bank making a very small amount of money? Or do they want to make more money and more cash flow on the money that they have? And that's also a great way to determine if that person could be a future investor in your deals, which we're going to get into much later in these series. That if you understand how to get assets at discounts, and you can help others make a great return on their cash that is really not performing that well, your skills will be a great solution for people to start making cash flow or more cash flow than they're making now. So understand that there's always going to be more money out there than there are deals. I've said this before, and it's going to be repeated multiple times in multiple episodes. It's important for you to have your eyes open that People are either looking for cash or cash flow, and it's really going to impact how you look at the business, your attitude in communication with your sellers and your potential investors, and pretty much everyone around you. Very good to know. I've learned over a long period of time to take myself out of it and realize that the world is just what it is, and you have to deal with whatever situations happen. And if someone wants to sell their property for 50 cents on the dollar, if they can get the money in 2 weeks, then guess what? I'm going to buy it for 50 cents on the dollar and not try to dig in too deep into what's wrong with the property. They might just need the money that quickly. Of course, I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to make sure that it's in great shape, but I'm going to tie it up as quickly as possible, as soon as possible, because if I don't buy it, guess what? Someone else will. So it's really important for you to understand that you can't do things too slowly when the opportunity is there, because if you don't pick it up, someone else is going to run with it very quickly, namely any one of my followers, because what we do is pounce very quickly when we want to get to a contract, because our contracts allow us to get into the property, tie it up so no one else can buy it. We can do our due diligence, and if we don't like it, we can let it go and have someone else have at it at that point. So speed of implementation and speed of tying things up is very important in this business, which I can discuss on another episode. But for now, let's get into the 5 Ds, the 5 reasons why people need to sell quickly. D number 1 is divorce. Now, I've been through 2 of these, so I understand it. When you're going through divorce, it can be pretty painful. You want to get rid of your assets as quickly as possible so we can divvy them up. And if you have a very nasty divorce, you don't care what it costs, you just want out of it. And you are willing to sell things at discounts just to get done with whatever situation you're in. It's not necessarily about the money, it's about peace of mind. And peace of mind has much more value than money. I would rather have a stress-free life than make a few extra bucks and deal with a lot of drama 100% of the time. So, in fact, many people leave their jobs that they hate, that are high-paying, for a lesser-paying job just because it's more harmonious, they enjoy it more, and it's not necessarily all about money. It's really about peace of mind. It's very, very important to have that good mental space and not have to worry. So, and I'm sure if you look in your garage, there's things that you've paid good money for that you would just give away because you just don't need them anymore. Well, as you have more money, you realize that money can really be made a lot easier, and you don't mind giving things away or giving things at a discount in order to get them out of your life. So understand that mindset, because if you are in the mindset of there's no way anyone would give anything at a discount because you wouldn't, you're going to have a problem. Okay, so just getting that out of the way. So divorce is a big one. If someone wants to get a divorce, divorces are expensive. There's a lot of divorces, and when you're divvying up assets, divorce is a big one. Next is displacement. These are folks that are moving from one location to another. So we just bought a property recently in Chicago. The guy is actually selling his entire portfolio, 100 plus properties, multi-units. 100 multi-units is almost 1,000 units it's over 1,000 units of properties. There's some duplexes, triplexes. There's a 50 unit. There's a lot of property, over 1,000. The guy's moving to Florida. He just wants to cash his chips and be done. And he just wants to get out of the cold weather. And the guy's older, which is another D, but we're going to get into that in a second. So that's displacement. Does not want the properties anymore, does not want to manage it from afar, and just wants out. So they're moving from one location to another and wants to get rid of their portfolio or their property or series of properties. And what's interesting is the baby boomers, just as a sidebar, have the highest percentage of wealth in this country. And most baby boomers, if they have one property, they'll have 2, 3, 4, or 5. So if you're doing business with one, there's a great opportunity to get the deal behind the deal, which is a completely different episode that we're going to get into down the line. So make sure you watch that one, because that's a really great way of getting deals that you didn't expect. Many times it's like an iceberg. You have this deal that you're working on, and then you talk to the seller, and they have like 30 other properties that are even better than the one they're trying to sell. So it's very exciting. So anyway, I digress. So displacement is a big deal. All right, so that's another D. The next is debt. Americans are in debt, and there's a lot of debt, and there's a lot of lawsuits in the United States. We're going to get into an asset protection episode again in the future, but most people that have real estate do not protect their assets properly. And if they get sued, well, or they have a financial hardship and they have assets they want to sell to get rid of the debt, to get rid of either a foreclosure. If they're getting sued. In fact, I'm not sure if you're aware that 94% of all lawsuits in the world are in the United States. It's impressive, and there's a reason for that. But we're going to get into those things a little bit later in the programs. So, if you're getting sued, you want to get rid of the problem. You want to settle, so you need to sell things you need money quickly. And if someone wants money quickly, they have to sacrifice equity for speed, and that's where we come in. The lenders that I can align you with will lend money to about 70% of the value of the asset, and can close very, very quickly, as long as there's certain check marks that are the boxes that are checked, and that can happen in as little as 2 weeks. So there are lots of opportunities to buy great properties at great discounts if you know where to get the money, which again, if you continue to follow me, you can definitely get those answers. So, lawsuits are a big one, and there are a lot of them in the U.S., and so debt is a big part of getting some great assets at great discounts. Then there's we've got debt, we've got disease. Next is death. Now, death is like retirement. Death would be where they're wanting to cash in their chips before they pass on, or someone has passed on to the next opportunity, and the kids are selling the assets because they have no idea how real estate works, and they just want to sell. They want to sell it quickly. I can't tell you how many times I've been talking to an older gentleman or an older young lady that needs to sell their property because they know that their end is near, and they don't want their kids to fight over the money or the assets and displace the tenants, because they love these tenants and they would rather sell the property at a discount than have the kids fight over the property like vultures and displace the tenants that they really care about. So they're willing to pass on the torch to someone that actually cares, versus their kids that are not involved at all in the business. And I've also had many conversations with sellers where they're pardon the expression, but are like, if I give my kids this property, they're going to sell it for pennies on the dollar, go to Vegas and do hookers and blow. I don't want that for my kids. I'd rather just give them a little bit of cash and be done with it, and not have to worry about it. And some baby boomers don't even have a good relationship with their kids, and they don't want their kids to have the asset because they know they're going to be self-destructive with it, or they're just not going to take care of it. So again, tons of reasons why I could be on this for hours, just on many conversations that I've had with many aging folks, or people that have inherited property they just want to get rid of because they just don't understand it, don't want it, aren't interested in it, don't want to run it. Tons of reasons. So death is a big one as well. Which leads to disease, which is the biggest reason why people sell. Now, sadly, medical bills are the #1 cause of bankruptcy in the United States. It's bananas to me because I'm Canadian. We have free medical care, and to lose your home and lose your assets over getting sick it is a terrifying situation, but it happens a lot in the United States. Now, again, a lot of people have insurance, but insurance isn't always perfect. And sometimes they don't pay, or there's a huge deductible. And, cancer is a very expensive thing to treat. It can cost millions of dollars a year. And as the population is aging, they're predicting that 1 in 4 will, get quite sick of a major disease. And if you don't have the right insurance, and your insurance runs out, and you need, some money now, do you want $150,000 a year for your property, or do you want $1 million right now? Would you want $150,000 a year if you knew that if you didn't have the money to pay for your operation, you'd be dead, and you need like $800,000, $900,000? You want the money, or do you want the cash flow? In that case, you want cash, not cash flow. So, and I would like, that'd be a great opportunity for me, because if they need the money and I can give them $1 million from a lender, again, I'm not going to use my money; it's forbidden. But if I can, if it's making $150,000 a year net, it's worth at least $1.5 million in most markets. We're going to get into values a little bit later, so you understand these terms and these words, so please don't get scared because I'll explain this as the program continues. But if I buy something for $1 million and it makes a net 150, that's a 15% return. That beats whatever other investments I have, and it's an asset that's going up in value. I can raise the rents, I can improve the property. There's all sorts of things I can do to increase the value and the revenue that's coming in. And if the guy sadly needs the money and I can write him a check, because if I don't do it, guess what? Someone else will. So I can tie that up, take care of that seller, help the seller, and make a 15% return in the process. So it makes me really pleased that I can help as many humans as possible and stay quite profitable at the same time. So you don't have to sacrifice people over profits. You can actually take care of people and make a ton of money at the same time if you understand, again, where the money is and how the whole process works. And that's going to take, of course, more than just a couple podcast episodes or videos. It's going to, you have to learn some things in order to position yourself properly to get the best opportunities to make the most amount of money, because education, of course, is power. And applying that education is going to be even more important. Anywho, so we've talked about, divorce. Very, very big deal. People want to sell. Displacement. So if someone's getting a divorce and they're moving the country, that's 2 Ds. That's going to be someone that's quite heavily motivated. Someone that is also, they have financial problems, so they need to sell even more. That's 3 Ds. Maybe they're older and they just need to, dump their assets, or they just want to cash in their chips, travel the world, and enjoy their life. They're willing to, they don't need $20 million for their portfolio. They're okay with 14. They can't spend the 14 before their next opportunity arises. That 14 million is just fine. And again, if it's worth 20 and we buy it for 14, that's a $6 million savings, and we're buying it at 30% off, which is super awesome. And we're saving $6 million, and we get a $6 million instant equity the day we buy it. So those things happen quite often. Someone that's being sued, someone that is, has sadly medical bills that they need to take care of, and they don't want to lose their home. They want to be able to sell something that they have that's been making them cash flow for years, but now they just want to cash in and be able to take care of their medical bills or someone's family's medical bills. This happens all the time. So understand that if someone is in that situation and the property's fine, it's, these are the opportunities that you can play with, help another human being that really needs help, and at the same time make a ton of money just helping other people, which always feels good. Now, how we find these people is going to be what we talk about next. Now, the beauty of living or doing business in the United States is the Freedom of Information Act. Now, where I live in Canada, it's called a Privacy Act. It's a completely different law. The Privacy Act basically says that everything's private. Anything's private. There's privacy everywhere. I can't even tell who owns what property online. It's very private. For me to find someone that is getting divorced, I can't access those records. It's nothing is public information. It's all private information. In the U.S., if I know your address and I know your name, I can find out exactly what you own, what your credit score is, if you've ever been to jail, everything, all the cars that you have, figure out your entire asset base, your stock, what bank accounts you have, how much money is in there. It's called the Privacy Act, and it's all available if you know where to look. It's actually pretty terrifying. If someone has medical issues, is getting divorced, has lawsuits, these are all things that you can find. And if you can understand where to find public record as far as what people own and what they're going through, and you merge those two together, it costs nothing. It takes time, and there are actually services that can do it for you. And you can do this extremely inexpensively, if not free. If you start small, you can get lists for free, and as you get more sophisticated, you can start investing a little bit of cash. And I'm not talking a whole lot here. I'm talking a few $100 to get some pretty phenomenal lists of people that really need to sell because they're in a really hard spot. And if you communicate with them saying, hey, I have some cash burning a hole in my pocket. If you have any need for it, if you have an asset that you want to sell, let me know. It's a very generic email that's not going to offend, because I'm Canadian. Again, I don't want to offend anybody, but you can really position yourself in a pretty cool way to have people just haunt you and say, I need to sell this. I've been praying and I got this letter, or I got this email, and man, I can't believe, that, if we could sell our apartment complex, it's, it makes $300,000 a year net. It's worth over $3 million. If you give us two, we're out of here. It's paid for. It's been in the family. Just give us $2 million because we need $2 million like tomorrow. You just got $1 million discount on a property just by being at the right place at the right time and created your own destiny by understanding where to find something, sending the right letter that's not offensive, it's not going to hurt their feelings, and it's just basically going to say that you have the ability to buy something and if they need the money, great. So it's a great way to go catching. I don't call it fishing. I call it catching. And again, if you understand motivation and you understand that you are able to help those people and put those two together, you can really sandwich yourself into millions of dollars in a very short period of time. And that's really what I would love for you to do. So there you have the 5 Ds, how to find motivated sellers that are needing to sell quickly, and how to position yourself in a way where you can make millions of dollars by helping other people, and just understanding that if you understand the game and how to manipulate the pieces on the board, you can make more money in the next 3 years than you ever have in the last 30. And that's really my hope and desire for you, that you start paying attention to this information, start applying this information, and just having more fun in your life, more joy, having the ability to spend more time with the people that you love. Stop working for money, have other people's money work for you, and just have more great times in your life. Can't wait to see you on the next episode.